The company sign reads Peterson and Son Contracting. My father is the Peterson. My lazy, incompetent brother Mark is the Son. I'm the ampersand, the invisible, load-bearing symbol that connects the two. For a decade, I've been the one who wakes up at 4 a.m. to visit job sites, the one who negotiates with suppliers, the one who balances the books and keeps our clients from walking away. I am the engine of the company. They are the shiny hood ornaments. Tonight, that dynamic was on full display. We'd just landed the biggest contract in our company's history, the Miller Building renovation, a deal I spent 6 months fighting for. My father called a family dinner to celebrate. He raised his glass, looked me straight in the eye, and said, "Let's toast to Mark. He's finally showing the kind of leadership this company needs. He's proven he's ready to be a true partner." I just stared at him. The praise for my brother, for a deal he barely understood, was a physical slap in the face. But then my phone buzzed. It was a text from John Miller himself, the owner of the building. It read, "Grace, my assistant told me your father just registered Peterson and Son as the official contractor. My deal is with you, not your family's company. If you're not the sole contractor of record, the deal is off. Let me know how you want to proceed." And just like that, the market spoke. The value wasn't in the family name, it was in me, and I suddenly had a choice to make. Of course. The text message from John Miller burned a hole in my pocket, a single glowing ember in the cold, familiar landscape of my own erasure. My father's toast to Mark wasn't a new kind of cruelty. It was just a perfected version of a script they'd been rehearsing for years. The first time they stole my work, I was 24. I had spent a month, day, and night putting together a complex bid for the Oakview School renovation. It was a long shot, but I found an angle our competitors had missed. On the day of the presentation, my father insisted Mark come with me. For the experience, he'd said. In the meeting, my father introduced Mark, who had barely read the proposal, as the young man who spearheaded this project. When we won the bid, the email to the company celebrated Mark's first big win. When I confronted my father, his face hardened. "Don't be selfish, Grace," he'd told me. "A win for the company is a win for Mark. He needs the confidence. You're the strong one." My strength was not a quality to be rewarded, but a resource to be used to prop up my brother's weakness. The dynamic was solidified 2 years later during the warehouse disaster. Mark, trying to impress some friends, had personally supervised a concrete pour using the wrong mixture. It was a $50,000 mistake that had to be torn out and redone, threatening the entire project. While my father quietly shuffled the numbers to hide the loss, I was the one on site at 5 a.m. for a week, renegotiating with the furious client, calling in favors with suppliers, and managing a demoralized crew. I saved the project and the company's reputation. At the end-of-year review, my father noted that my department had gone slightly over budget and that I needed to keep a better eye on expenses. Mark's mistake was privately forgiven as a learning experience. My solution was publicly recorded as my failure. I was the company's workhorse and its scapegoat. I built the victories, and I absorbed the losses. My father wasn't just my boss. He was the architect of my invisibility. He didn't want the most competent person to take over his legacy. He wanted the one with the right last name. He wanted a son. All my hard work, my loyalty, my sacrifices, he saw it all as a wonderful, elaborate scaffolding I was building so that my brother could one day climb to the top. And tonight, holding this text message, I realized the market, the real world, had just handed me a stick of dynamite. And I was finally ready to light the fuse and blow the whole rotten structure down. I stared at the glowing screen of my phone, John Miller's words seeming to rearrange the molecules in the air around me. At the table, my father was still telling a story about my brother Mark's supposed business acumen, and Mark was soaking it in. I felt a strange, dizzying calm settle over me. For the first time, their praise and their erasure were just noise from a distant radio station I was no longer tuned into. "You know what?" I said, standing up abruptly. "I'm exhausted. I have an early site visit tomorrow. I'm going to have to call it a night." Before they could protest, I was gone, leaving them to celebrate a victory they didn't own. Back in my quiet apartment, I read the text again and again. It was real. After a decade of being the loyal daughter, the silent pillar holding up a company named after my brother, the market had just sent me a love letter. I took a deep breath and did something I had never done before. I put myself first. I called John Miller. "Grace," he answered immediately, his voice warm and direct. "I'm glad you called. I meant what I said. My investors and I, we're not betting on a name. We're betting on a person. We've seen your work for years. We've seen how you handle problems. We know who the real foundation of that company is." There was a pause. Then he said the words that changed everything. "My offer in the text wasn't a threat to your father. It was a promise to you. The contract for the Miller building has a key person clause. You are the key person. If you decide to leave Peterson and Son and start your own firm, the contract, the funding, and my personal backing all go with you. The deal is yours, Grace, not theirs." I hung up the phone and felt a profound, tectonic shift inside me. My loyalty had been my cage, the bars forged from duty and love. But my loyalty wasn't to a name or to a building. It was to the work, to the clients, to the crews, to the quality I had fought for every single day. The company wasn't just my father's legacy. The best parts of it were mine. And I realized in that moment that I didn't have to leave with nothing. I could leave with everything that mattered. Peterson and Son was about to find out how much an ampersand was truly worth. Armed with John Miller's promise, I knew I had to give them one last chance. Not for them, but for me. I needed to know, without a shadow of a doubt, that I was leaving a house that was already burned down, not striking the match myself. I called a formal meeting in the office conference room. Just me, my father, and Mark. I was calm and prepared. I didn't lead with emotion. I led with facts. For 15 years, I began, I have managed every major project for this company. My client, retention rate is 98%. I have overseen a 40% growth in revenue since I started. And I single-handedly negotiated and secured the Miller building contract, the largest in this company's history. I let the facts hang in the air. Based on this performance, I continued, I am no longer asking for a new title. I am stating my new terms of employment. I want an equal 1/3 partnership. I want my name on the sign. Peterson, Son, and daughter. It's a fair and logical reflection of the value I bring. The silence was followed by a short, barking laugh from my brother. "A partner?" he scoffed, looking at my father as if I were a toddler demanding a pony. "Grace, you get a great salary. You get a nice company car. I'm the son. That's how legacies work. Dad, tell her." I looked at my father, giving him the chance to be the man I always hoped he was. He just shook his head, a look of patronizing disappointment on his face. "Gracie, you're the best operator I've ever seen. You're invaluable, but you're not a partner. Your role is to support the family, to support the name. Your brother is the face of the future." He leaned forward as if offering a great concession. "But I do want to reward your loyalty. I'll authorize a 10% bonus for the Miller deal. And we'll give you a new title. How about Chief Operating Officer? A big title for a big job." And there it was, the final damning betrayal. They weren't just denying me my worth. They were trying to buy me off with a fancier title for the same cage. They didn't see a partner. They didn't even see a daughter. They saw a valuable asset that was making an inconvenient demand. An employee. I slowly stood up, my heart no longer heavy, but light with a terrible, freeing clarity. "Thank you," I said, my voice empty of any emotion. "You've made your position perfectly clear." I walked out of the room, leaving them smug and victorious. They thought they had just put me back in my place. They had no idea I was walking out of the building, out of their company, and out of their lives, to go build a new place of my own. I didn't go back to my office. I walked straight out of the building, the echoes of their smug, dismissive voices propelling me forward. The 15 years of my life I had poured into their company felt like a weight I was finally shrugging off. I got into my car, but I didn't start the engine. I just sat there in the quiet of the parking lot and dismantled their empire in under 10 minutes. My first call was to John Miller. "John, it's Grace," I said, my voice steady. "I'm out. As of right now. Your offer to back my own firm, is it still on the table? His response was immediate. It was never off the table, Grace. Congratulations. You just made the best decision of your life. My lawyers will send over a letter of intent to your lawyer within the hour, confirming our partnership with your new, as yet unnamed company. My second act was an email, sent from my phone, to my father, my brother. Subject, formal resignation. This email serves as notice of my immediate and irrevocable resignation from Peterson & Son. Please have the personal effects from my office delivered to my home address. Thank you for the opportunity. I hit send. Cold. Corporate. The language they had taught me. The third and fourth calls were to my A-team. To Hector, our best site foreman, and to Sarah, the accountant who could make miracles out of spreadsheets. They were loyal to the work, not to the name on the sign. I offered them both a 20% raise and a stake in my new venture. They both accepted without a moment's hesitation. I could almost feel the shockwave hitting the conference room they were likely still sitting in. First, my email would land, a minor tremor. Then minutes later, the call would come from John Miller's legal team, informing them that the 9-figure Miller building contract, the future of their company, had just been terminated due to a key person clause violation. My resignation. The real earthquake. And the aftershocks would be Hector and Sarah walking in to hand in their own notices. My phone started to buzz, my father's name flashing on the screen. It buzzed again. My brother. I looked at their panicked incoming calls. For the first time, they needed something from me. And for the first time, I felt the beautiful, liberating power of simply declining. I silenced my phone, started my car, and drove away, not from a job, but from the ruins of a building I had finally allowed to collapse. After 2 days of ignoring their frantic, increasingly desperate voicemails, I agreed to meet them one last time. I chose the location, the now silent, empty construction site of the Miller building. The foundation I had laid for their future was now the graveyard of their company. They arrived looking broken and furious. "How could you?" my father choked out, his voice raw. "You destroyed us, your own family. For what? Money?" I looked at him, not with anger, but with a calm, final clarity. "You're wrong," I said. "This was never about money. This was about value. And this wasn't a destruction. It was a market correction. For 15 years, you treated me like a workhorse. You put my brother's name on my victories and painted my name on his failures. You thought the value of this company was in the Peterson name, in the sign on the door, in the son who would inherit the throne. I took a step closer, my voice dropping but losing none of its edge. But the market, the real world, knows better. The market knows that value isn't in a name. It's in the person who answers the phone at 3 a.m. during a crisis. It's in the person the clients and the crews trust with their lives and their money. The value was never in the sun. It was in the ampersand. And the ampersand just walked out the door and took all the real assets with her. My brother started to sputter about loyalty, but I cut him off. Your company is insolvent. Your top talent has resigned. Your biggest contract has been terminated. You are facing breach of contract lawsuits on 3 other projects. You are worthless. I let the word hang in the air. Then I gave them the final crushing blow of mercy. So here is my one and only offer. My new firm will acquire the physical assets of Peterson & Son, your equipment, your yard, for 10 cents on the dollar. It will be just enough to cover your debts and avoid a humiliating bankruptcy. It will allow you to retire, Dad. And Mark, it will force you to finally get a job. I didn't wait for an answer. This is the last time we will speak as business, associates. And the last time we will speak as family. You taught me the value of a name. Today, I'm choosing to build my own. I turned and walked away, leaving them standing in the ruins of the company they thought they owned, finally forced to face the true cost of the person they had so carelessly discarded. 2 years have passed. The old, faded Peterson & Son sign was taken down, and the equipment yard was sold. My father took the buyout and retired into a quiet, bitter silence. My brother, I've heard, is now a junior project manager at a rival firm, finally forced to learn the job he had pretended to have for a decade. Today, I'm standing on a podium under a brilliant blue sky. Behind me, a massive banner reads, "Pillar Construction." In front of me, the mayor is cutting a ceremonial ribbon for the grand opening of the Miller Building. John Miller is beside me, and my team, Hector, Sarah, and a dozen others who believe in the work, are in the front row. They are not my employees, they are my partners, my chosen family. Every major project in this city now has a Pillar Construction sign out front. My name is on the skyline, theirs is on a mailbox, of a house I no longer visit. For so long, I believed my role was to be the invisible ampersand in a story about my father and my brother. I finally learned that the ampersand, the "an," is the strongest part. It's the piece that connects everything, that bears the load, that turns two separate names into a single, powerful unit. I just decided to stop connecting two names and start becoming the name that mattered to every invisible "an" out there, every silent pillar holding up a business, a project, or a family without credit. Your value is not determined by your title. It's determined by the work. If you've ever been the one doing the real work behind the scenes, share your story of strength in the comments. Let's build a new foundation together. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe for more stories about turning your name into a legacy.